Welcome to the On a Mission Mojo podcast, where I have the pleasure of interviewing impact-driven founders, entrepreneurs, authors, and business experts who are actively working to create a positive difference in our world. I'm your host, Lori Young, a branding specialist, certified master marketer, and a passionate advocate for brands that possess heart, soul, and an unwavering commitment to drive change for humanity. It takes grit, a visionary mindset, and an abundance of mojo to navigate this journey. And the stories I share will undoubtedly ignite your passion. If you're seeking an infusion of inspiration, motivation, and valuable insights to amplify your impact, let's dive right in. Welcome to episode 35 of On a Mission Mojo podcast. I'm so happy to be here. Today we have a great guest with us. If you're running a mission-driven business, you know that one of the most important things that you are going to have to master is sales. And typically, most sales experts are teaching kind of mind or emotional psychology approaches to sales. But I have a guest with us today that has a little bit different approach, and we are going to be talking about soul-led sales. So this is going to be a great conversation. I think it's really going to help a lot of people. So let me introduce our guest. Sydney Ryker is an entrepreneur, business owner, and transformational speaker who started her journey 8 years ago, sleeping on a mattress on the floor. She has been the driving force behind a health company with over 7,000 active customers and multiple 8-figure global sales organizations, speaking on dozens of stages worldwide. Sydney empowers individuals through her identity deconstruction method, guiding them to shed societal conditioning and rediscover their true selves. With the support of ancient spiritual practices and her mentor, Mitch, she helps people rediscover a life of peace and fulfillment within. And maybe we will actually have time to dive a little bit into this deconstruction method as well, because I'm sure it's kind of part of soul-led sales. Yeah. So, Sydney, thank you for being here. And why don't we just start by you sharing a little bit about your mission in the world?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Lori. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, I mean, a little of my story, I guess. I got started, like I said, at 21 years old in entrepreneurship, and it was a very accidental, happenstance kind of situation. I had grown up in a small town in Montana, more cows than people in my city. Not even exposed to entrepreneurship or anything at all. And I just knew from TV and film as a kid, I was like, I want to move across the country to California and like find my, the dream. And that's what I did. I had $50 in my account after I bought a one-way ticket to California, non-refundable. I had nowhere to live. I had nowhere to work, and I had no plan. I knew one person in the whole state. And I called her that day. I called her on Instagram. I think you can like call people on Instagram. I call her on Instagram, I message her, and I get her on the phone somehow. And I reach out to her and say, hey, I'd love to buy you dinner. And so I find a place
with your $50.
With my $50, which in 2017, I could definitely do that. And so I took her to a cheap place and we got dinner, and I convinced her to let me move in with her. And it ended up being just this divine intervention of the perfect person I could possibly move in with. And she taught me business. She really took me under her wing as a mentor, taught me sales. She taught me how to, edification, all these different things that we use in sales. She introduced me to her mentors who were multiple $1 million earners at the time per year.
Wow.
And I just got tucked in to this like perfect community of people that were so heart-centered, that were so kind, that were so integrous. And it opened my world up. And over the next, 5 to 6 years, I ended up building that sales organization, learning sales, mastering sales, teaching sales, leading teams. By the time I was 25, I was, a top earner, making hundreds of thousands of dollars and mentoring people twice my age in sales and how to build sales teams. And went on to build multiple other sales businesses after that, sales organizations, recruiting, all of it. And so in that process, I really eventually realized that you can make a lot of money and you can gain the whole
Mhm.
world through sales, especially because it's a very high paying thing, whether you're doing it through your
Right.
business or just being in sales. But you can lose your whole soul. And that was,
Mm.
what kind of happened to me, where I felt like this one-winged bird that was trying to flap with like a
Mhm.
really strong sales wing, but not a spiritual wing. And I was just
Mm.
flying in circles.
Right.
And it was in that time period where I realized that I needed to really bring in the non-physical, right, and the
Mhm.
spiritual wing into my life and into my business, so that I could have that fulfillment and feel like I was enough and all those things. And so,
Right.
in that process, I've really been able to cultivate my own skill set, lean into the spiritual and the physical, and now it's a mission to help others do the same, because there's so many people that are burnt out from what they're doing because they don't
Yes.
have that peace and that fulfillment, and they're just in this never-ending rat race. And so that is my mission, is to support people in the process of where I was before, of just
Mhm.
feeling maybe unfulfilled even though you're successful, and giving people tools and tips that I've learned to be able to step into more peace in their life and more fulfillment in what they do.
That's awesome. I love that. Now, are you still in California?
So actually I am right now, weirdly enough. I've probably moved across the country 8 or 9 times at this point, and I'm in California right now, and we'll be back in Austin soon. So I'm kind of all
Oh,
around the
you
place.
so okay, so you live in Austin?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I live in California. I'm
Oh,
in
where?
yeah, I'm in Temecula, California.
Oh my gosh, I'm right outside of LA right now. I'm just north of you.
Okay, that's cool. Very cool. And my bestie lives in Austin.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, we're gonna have to link up. We should have done this in person.
Exactly. Exactly. So, let's talk about sales. It's funny. I love talking about sales because first of all, sales is probably like my least least favorite skill, but it's like my worst skill. Like
Mm,
I feel like sales is, and I've kind of developed an approach to sales where it's just more about helping and serving, like listening to the person and figuring out, is there a way that I can contribute to them, is there a way that I can help them solve their problems. But I have a son who lives in Chicago who is kind of like you said, just driven in sales, and the sole reason he is in sales is to make a lot of money. um and so I can relate to what you were saying about how, like, when it's just about that, when it's just about like making a lot of money, eventually you're going to hit burnout. And when you're struggling, like this year's economy, when sales has been tough for a lot of businesses, like if you don't have something else, like it's very, very frustrating.
for sure. And it's, yeah, I mean, it definitely is. And I think that sales is such a beautiful thing, because it's one of those skills that, if you get wiped out tomorrow and you have nothing left, if you have
Mm-hmm.
sales in your back pocket as a skill set,
Mm-hmm.
like your son, he can go
Mm-hmm.
make money anywhere. And
Right.
so it's one of those things that's so invaluable. However, when we put all of our value, all of our worth into making money through sales, we can do that for a while. Men can probably
Mm-hmm.
even do it a little longer than women, right? Because they're positively reinforced for making money, so
Sure.
much more
Mm-hmm.
than women. It can become this hollow quest, is what my spiritual advisor calls it, a hollow quest
Okay.
of always wanting more. And with
Mm.
sales, fast feedback cycle. So every time you make a sale, you get that dopamine rush. If you don't make a sale, you don't get that dopamine rush. So then you feel like you have to make more and more and more and more and more and more and more sales to feel enough.
Right.
And that's where the danger can come in. It's, how can we learn how to sell without needing to sell anything at all, right? Like how can we go make the sale but not need the sale? That's
That's
the challenge.
interesting. That's a very interesting concept. Let's like explore that like a little bit. Like first of all, let's put out on the table, what is soul-led sales?
Yes, great question. So soul-led sales to me, right,
Mhm.
it's all our own interpretation. For me, what I often teach is, especially on stages when I do this talk, is I always put a picture of a guy that's like rubbing his hands together at a car lot, like a used car
Okay.
salesman. And
Uh-huh.
that's the picture that most people have of salesmen.
Hmm.
And it's right, or it's the network marketing MLM mom that's like selling Tupperware from her house, like that. And I was in an MLM, so I feel like I can say that. But we have this old view, this old
Right.
paradigm of what sales is and what sales
Hmm.
was. And it's natural because that's what it used to be, right? It used to
Sure.
be that old, that was a lot of what sales was, and it was a win-lose paradigm, right? So there's a
Mm-hmm.
structure in the 7 habits of highly effective people, and it's
Hmm.
win-win, win-lose, lose-win, lose-lose, right? It's a 4 quadrant.
Right.
And we
Okay.
believe that sales is win-lose when we're in that old paradigm of if I win and take your money, you're going to lose and I'm taken from you.
Right.
In soul-led selling, it's a paradigm shift into this new paradigm of this new age and this new way of leading from a place that feels really good and knowing that what you're providing is an equal or greater exchange of the money that you're exchanging with the client or the customer. And when you
Hmm.
can come from that place of, I know that what I'm bringing to the table is just as valuable, if not more valuable than that $5,000 or $10,000 you're going to give me, then it feels really good and it feels like a win-win. And win-win, we always want to find a win-win in everything in life, whether it's a negotiation with your partner about dinner, or if it's just, selling something to somebody. What is the win-win? And
Right.
so soul-led selling is really about shifting into that new paradigm, creating that new outlook for yourself, realizing the value you're bringing, and
Hmm.
creating that win-win from a place that feels really good for you and doesn't feel snaky and feels really
Right.
good for the client, where it can feel good for everyone. It's it's moving from the head to the heart, and how can we be in service to everyone?
Yeah, definitely. Now, one of the things that you said that I think, at least, that I know I've struggled with, I mean, in full transparency, and I know that many of the business owners that I work with struggle with, and that is believing that what you're selling is worth the money that you're charging.
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that because I think that can be very beneficial for people. Like, how do we get to a place of belief in what we're providing and what we're selling is actually worth the money that we're charging? That's something I personally have been working on all year. It's just a self-belief, a self-worth, and just constantly reminding myself that I deserve to make this money because what I'm delivering is high quality
Yeah.
service.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
let's talk about that.
Oh my gosh, this is such a good topic, especially with women. I've just been doing a lot of research on women versus men in the workplace, right? In
Hmm.
entrepreneurship, and um, men naturally, how they're wired, they have a higher confidence level, right? They have 10 times testosterone we do, right? That gives you confidence. But as
Okay.
women, we just entered the workforce, what, 50, 60 years ago, where we could even have a credit card on our own. And
Right.
so, first of all, we got to give ourselves grace as women, and for
Hmm.
speaking to women, because we're new to this. Men have
Sure.
been passed down for generations. That gets into your DNA. I really believe that. And so women are so
Right.
new to business. And so that's okay if we feel like, we're not worthy right now, but we have to know that that's just a fake story. It's just a story we
Yes.
told ourselves. But when I look at, because I feel that same way when I'm selling things, and I look at my partner, my boyfriend, who is selling
Hmm.
the same thing, and he's like, we should be charging more, like we're about adding so much value, right? And I'm like, oh no, like it's not worth the value. What I always look at is, if I were in the place that my client was in, and I was in,
Hmm.
like, mentally in the place that they were in, and this person was going to provide this service to me, what would that be worth for me? What would that be
Hmm.
worth for my business? What would that be worth for my confidence, right? Knowing the service you provide and the quality of service you provide.
Right.
And when you can really see what that would actually add to that person by them investing in that, or you investing in your future self, right? You have to realize it is valuable because it can completely transform your entire life or their entire life. And if the person has, if it's the right pain point with the right
Hmm.
irresistible offer and you get them that result, that's invaluable, right? And people
Right.
will pay it. As far as the worthiness thing, there's a practice I like to do with my people who are in a sales organization, because, and
Mm-hmm.
you can do this with your, with yourself, with your own sales organization, which
Sure.
is your company. There's really 5 areas of belief that you get to grow in.
Mm.
Let's make sure I remember these. Okay. So let's just act as if we're in a sales team or a network marketing
Right.
company and we're talking to a team,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the
Yeah.
first area of belief that you need to grow is leadership. Do you believe that the leadership of your company, or i.e., if you're the entrepreneur yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is the
Yep.
person who can get you to where that company is claiming they want to be as far as the vision?
Okay.
The
Okay.
second one is the product. Do you
Mm.
believe that the product, do you actually believe that you're providing the value you're claiming to provide? Right? Like for you, you know that you provide an impeccable service. So you have to
Sure.
trust that and know that.
Right.
Some of the people on this call will be like, actually, I know that I could do a little better on my product, or I know
Mm.
I could do a little bit better on my deliverables, and I've kind of been slacking. Right? So what's your
Okay.
belief in leadership, product,
Mm-hmm.
compensation? So if you're in a company and they're paying you, a salary, or they're paying you a commission, do you
Mm-hmm.
believe that the compensation they're providing for you is something that's worth it if you can earn that much? Right? Like you got
Okay.
to build your
Uh-huh.
belief in that. And if you're in a company where you don't feel that you're going to ever make the money that you want to make, you got to leave because you don't have a high
Sure.
belief
Right.
there.
Okay.
And then let's see, I'm trying to remember the fourth one. I always forget the fourth one. We got leadership. We got, the community, right? If you're in a company with the culture, like, do you believe in
Culture.
the
Mm-hmm.
culture? Do you believe in the company? And then the last one is you, right? So it's the top 5. Do you believe in yourself? You were just saying, like, I've worked on
Right.
belief in myself. So what you got to do with these 5 things is you got to rate all of them on a scale from 1 to 5. How high is your belief in each of these? And
Mm-hmm.
if your lowest one is belief in yourself, we got to focus there first. And so what I like to do is
Right.
rate yourself and then take the lowest one, which is usually myself, and how
Mm-hmm.
can we increase belief in self by just 1 point? Right?
Okay.
How can we do that? Or if it's product, how can we watch a couple videos about what our service can do for people, about what my product can do for people, and how can I build my belief? How can I build my skill set? How can I just increase each thing by 1 point and just keep
Right.
doing that until you're eventually at a 5-level belief? Right? And that practice seems so simple, but especially if you're working for a company, it's like, if you don't believe in the leadership, how can you have a direct conversation with your leader and share that concern, have a
Right.
conversation? That's going to increase your belief immediately if they're willing to have that
Right.
conversation, right? So
Right.
that's the practice of building belief, but it all comes back to belief in self, like you said, which can be the hardest to shift. But
Mm-hmm.
it's changing your story, right? What's the story you're currently telling yourself that's not true?
Right. Absolutely. Another thing I wanted to just kind of key off of is this belief in product or service that you have. I think about a conversation I just recently had with my son, and he was saying, and I think this can apply to all of us. He was saying that I need to have a mission critical product
Yeah.
that I can sell.
Yeah.
And that is something that is, I think, is so important to pay attention to when we look at our services or our product or whatever it is that we're offering the world. Is it something that is mission critical?
Love
Is
that.
it something that your audience absolutely has to have? Or is it just it would be nice. It would be
Mhm.
nice to have that, but maybe not now,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
I love that
Um,
term.
yeah, I just I mean I think about that all the time. I'm constantly asking myself, and and I work a lot in marketing with my clients, and even messaging, like I'm looking at messaging and what they're selling, and I'm often thinking to myself, like, okay, yeah, this is nice, I get it, you're wanting, to help people create a better life, but like, is that something that's gonna sell?
Right.
Like, is the pain so great that they're going to be willing to invest?
Right. Totally. And I mean, I think I love that mission critical. What I think of when I hear that is when I was starting to kind of fall out of love with the thing I was doing, right? And
Hmm.
before I was so lit up about this product I was selling, and I was like gonna die with that company, right?
Right.
And when you
Hmm.
have that, there's such an enthusiasm and contagious energy that people just flock to what you're doing. But if you
Right.
are selling something that you are kind of whatever about,
Mm-hmm.
you will not be able to bring enthusiasm and energy to your audience, to the people that you're sitting on 8 hours of calls with every day, trying to sell. It's really
Right.
hard. And so I think that forces us when we start to sell, if it's hard to sell, it's probably because it's either the wrong offer to the wrong client, or it's because we're not actually passionate enough about what we're doing. And I truly believe that, I mean, for myself anyways, unless I'm like willing to die on that rock of whatever it is I'm selling, it's
Sure.
almost impossible to continue to sell it for a long period of time. And so look at what you're doing. Am I truly passionate about this, or am I just trying to make a quick buck? Because that's just
Mm.
not, to me, that's not soul-led selling. Soul-led selling is like, I cannot go to sleep without telling people about what I'm doing because it's that
Got it.
important. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Very, very, very good point. So one of the things I want to talk about, because when I think about like soul led selling, right? I can't help but feel that there is a spiritual element to it.
Mhm.
And a lot of people would be like, not into adding spirituality to business. I'm not one of those people. And I am a huge believer in the power of spirituality in business. And I wanted to know, like, kind of, what's your stance on that? I mean, if you're talking about soul led selling, obviously there's some spiritual
Mhm.
component to it. Like, I want to hear kind of what your
Yeah.
stance is on that.
Yeah, great question. I was not like that before. I mean,
Hmm.
spirituality meant nothing to me until I was 27 years old. I'm 29 now. But
Okay.
now I've really realized that it's like 80% of the equation for myself.
Mm.
And
Okay.
that happened because I was in such a dark place a couple years ago after building this company and feeling so feeling like there was no point to any of it, like complete existential loneliness
Mm.
experience.
Hmm.
And I realized that there had to be more than just the physical, than just sales, than just business, than just what we can see right now. And
Right.
it wasn't until I was in that really, really dark night of the soul, most people call it, right, that I was, okay, I have to go strengthen that other wing of the bird, right? So I can actually fly
Hmm.
in one straight line, like I was talking about earlier. And I think that most people, until they get to a point where they are at a complete loss, they don't feel like they need the spirituality integrated. They don't feel like they need support from outside of themselves, or whatever they're experiencing, until they're in that dark enough place that they have to face it and they have to go inward and they have to figure out another way. And so for
Right.
me now, it's I've realized that what integrating spirituality and prayer, I mean, whatever kind of spiritual practices you do. I do
Sure.
have several different practices.
Meditation, like,
Right.
yeah,
100%.
manifestation, anything.
Right.
Hmm.
Intention setting, all of it. Whatever
Hmm.
your spiritual practices are, what I found is that I'm able to work less, make more, be happier. And for
Mm.
me, the true mark of success is, despite what I earn, despite what I have, am I completely fine and happy just the way I am, without any of it, right? And how can I have it all without needing any of it? That's always what I
Mm.
come back to. And with spirituality, I found that I can, before spirituality in my business, I could have it all and still want more. And now
Mm.
I can have nothing and not need any of it. And I can have it all and not need any of it. And I think that's
Mm.
kind of that spiritual mastery, right? Can we have it all, not need any of it? And also, if it was taken away, could we still be just fine?
Right.
And for most people, that would not be the case.
That's very true. Yeah, very, very true. So, are there any kind of like spiritual practices that you could recommend for someone that's wants to explore that, like of bringing spirituality into business? One of the things you said that really like strikes a chord with me is just being kind of at ease, right? And just being okay with whatever you have and being happy, and being in flow,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? So tell us, I guess, a little bit about some of the spiritual practices that you use that you feel kind of help strengthen like that other wing, as you would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. So I actually have, I'll use it as a resource for you guys so you can click a link in the show notes of this episode. I have the 5 main practices that I've learned from my spiritual mentor recorded by him.
Mm,
And so I
okay.
use those things every single day. They're very simple. They're based in old Eastern philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what's so crazy is they're nothing crazy. They're so simple. They're just such simple, tried and true practices. But one of them, for example, and I'll just use this because it's the easiest one to do on the fly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one that I started out with because I was
Okay.
so anxious. I was never at ease before, like never, always anxious, always
Mm-hmm.
inflamed because of that, always stressing, always chaotic. And it's such a simple practice. It's called name that thought practice. And all
Okay.
you do is you can do this anywhere you want. But you sit, you stand, you close your eyes, you keep them open, and you just see whatever thought comes into your mind, into your awareness. And
Okay.
instead of taking that thought and running with it and just going into a spiral tailspin, you take
Mm-hmm.
that thought and you name the thought. So you name the thought, you say what the thought is, and you put thought after it. So for an example would be Riverside program thought. And then I
Okay.
rest back and I see if another one comes. And then I would say, my dog is snoring on the ground thought. Rest back, see if another one comes. And you continue to do this. And after
Mm-hmm.
3, 4 thoughts, your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts start to just go away. They start to disappear. And so when you're
Okay.
falling asleep and your thoughts are running wild, if you are overwhelmed in your business and you just have so much going on in your brain, take a couple minutes, just
Mm-hmm.
stop what you're doing, do this, and your mind will be able to rest back. And from that place, you can make much better decisions. You can think more clearly. And this sounds so silly, but it's like I never thought I would ever be able to quiet my busy mind. But just doing this 2 minutes and it completely changes everything for me. But the more often you can do that, the more often all of these exercises that I do, they offer you an opportunity to rest back into stillness. And the more
Mm-hmm.
and more you do that, the more you naturally acclimate to that space. Then when you're on a sales call, you're not in your head, you're rested
Right.
back in this natural state and you're able to ask the right questions. You're able to be
Mm.
present. You're able to not be reactive, but be proactive. You're able to just be at peace all the time.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's huge because like I know me sometimes before I get into a sales call, I'm feeling anxious, right?
Anxious.
I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, what if this person presents a problem to me that I don't understand or that I am not going to be able to respond to? What if like I'm blubbering all over my words and I'm not able to speak intelligently? Like, what if, what if, what
Yeah,
if? It's like these constant what ifs. Now, normally, 9 times out of 10, when I get into the sales call, I tend to relax. Like once I
yeah,
start talking to somebody, it's just, I tend to be in flow
yeah,
somehow, some way. I do not know why, how, but
yes.
prior to that, I'm like really
Chaos.
anxious. It's like this, it's like I don't know this person. What I don't know what they're going to be like. I don't know what their problem is. I don't know what they're going to bring to me. I don't know
Right?
this. And I get myself like all like worked up.
But those thoughts, so think about this. Those thoughts, what's happening is your brain is trying to keep you safe, right? Your brain is just trying to keep you alive. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
thinking the mind is our worst enemy sometimes, right? We love our mind and it's great for certain things, but when it's trying to keep us alive and it's in a state of stress, it's not supportive. It's just
Right.
not. Because you already know these questions aren't realistic questions. These are not things you should actually be worried about. And so when we can name one of those thoughts and not get, because what happens is, oh my gosh, what if we ask one question in our mind and then it chases to the next and then it's and it just keeps jumping around. When you allow yourself to rest back in between each thought and you name it rather than getting captured in a tailspin on it, that's when
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be able to completely rest back and then go into that sales call with a completely different energy that's going to support
Sure.
you and them even more and be in flow prior to the call, right? Which
Right.
is which is the difference. But it's so totally normal, but it's such an easy practice that everybody can do just to catch yourself before you get into that tailspin.
So walk us through what it looks like, what it feels like in an actual sales conversation when we are actively practicing soul-led sales? How is
Great question.
how is it different than maybe the traditional sales process like that I know my son is probably going through? Very head driven,
That's
analytical, strategic.
yeah.
He's very good. Like he's
Yeah.
very analytical, very strategic, but it's very much up here.
Right.
How does it look and feel to be in a soul led sales conversation?
Yeah, everyone's different, and I think that, and I've done it both ways, and so there's no
Hmm.
right or wrong way, and especially for different types of offers, right? Some are very like you have to be on that ball. But what I'll
Yeah.
say is I've actually watched my partner, who I've learned so much about sales from my
Hmm.
partner. He's incredible, but his goal is to have one of the biggest soul led teams that's also high performing. So it's how can we
Hmm.
mix the two, right? And so I always take that as
Okay.
inspiration. But for me, and from what I've seen, just modeled from him, who is so amazing at it, is being leaned back energetically.
Okay.
So it's almost like a relationship as a woman. So if men are listening to this, you can apply this too. Women in relationships need to lean back so the man can lean in. And when you're in
Mm-hmm.
a sales conversation where you're leading from your soul, you kind of want to do the same thing. I always imagine that I'm rested back in the back of my heart space, which sounds so corny.
Okay.
It's like, how can I be rested back in the most calm, relaxed place that I know how to be and purely listen and ask questions? And
Mm-hmm.
how can I focus less on what am I going to say to make them want to buy? God, I keep hitting my
Right.
thumb. Sorry. What can I say going to make
Does
them
that
want
work?
to buy?
It
Right?
doesn't work on my side.
And how can I look good, right? How can I sound smart? Because that's a
Right.
lot of what I used to do when I was up. How can I say the right thing to trick them into,
Mm.
wanting my
Mm-hmm.
thing? And now it's how can I lean back as much as possible, hold space for
Mm-hmm.
this person, and ask them
Mm-hmm.
questions to help them uncover the things that are stopping them from doing this thing,
Sure.
right? And so it becomes much more exploratory, and it becomes
Mm-hmm.
all about you and them being hooked in arm against the world, not you being against them. In sales, a
Mm.
lot of times it's, oh, they have an objection about the spouse. And now I have to like, well, your spouse doesn't know anything. You should just do, whatever you got to do.
Right.
But instead, it's okay. Let's unpack that. That's what I hear a lot from
Mm-hmm.
outsiders. How can we unpack that? Okay, so do you feel that your spouse trusts you and that you guys have mutual trust, right? And do you feel that he
Mm-hmm.
supports you in what you do and your decisions? And do you operate your business or is he operating your business? Right, unpacking it with them and being
Sure.
on a
Mm-hmm.
very much team with them. That will make the sale feel a lot better because they feel like you're on their side, not just trying to take the
Mm.
money from you. So it's all, I mean,
Right.
there's so many things, but leaning back, being on their team, and really focusing less on how can you be the shining star of the moment and how can I serve the person in front of me to help them have a mental, emotional, or financial breakthrough that
Mm.
otherwise they would not have. That's going to completely change their life because I believe so much in what I'm about to offer them. And that
Right.
comes back to if you don't believe that, then you got to create a program or a product that you do believe that. And then it'll be
Sure.
very easy to do this. Right. But that's
Yes.
soul led selling is very focused on how can we help them have a breakthrough and how can I just be love and be supportive and support and facilitate them in that transformation. Because if you can't support and facilitate them into investing their money, you're not going to be able to support and facilitate them in whatever other transformation post investing that they need to make. And so that's where it
Yes.
starts is in that commitment.
Absolutely. What would be what would be a good approach um, when we're engaged in soul led selling if they have an objection to price? How do you like? How would we handle that? Because that's probably one of the most common objections, right? Is price. Oh, I can't afford that right now, or ooh, that seems kind of steep, and I'm not sure if I'm going to. A big thing is like, am I going to get a return on my investment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the thing with price, I mean, this is like a whole podcast in and of itself, but the thing with any objection, this is the very first thing I learned from my mentor back in 2017 when I started in sales because I was 20. 1 years old, and I was selling
Oh,
to other
wow.
20-year-olds, and I didn't know anybody. So I had to get 5, 10K out of these 21-year-olds. And it was like, it felt impossible, right? Because what 20,
Yeah.
but I did it, right? And so what I learned, and this does come back to soul led selling, because whatever objection we are getting
Hmm.
is the one that we have not overcome ourselves, or the one that we
Mm,
personally carry. And so if
interesting.
we are getting the money objection, it is
Hmm.
because, first of all, we don't believe that what we are offering is worth that. And we have
Hmm.
not been able to, because we don't believe that, we're not able to build the value for that person in the sales call up until that point. Because when you get to the price, if you're pitching the price, this is my belief now, if you're pitching the price to someone, that you should be 100% confident that they will be making the investment right then and there, because you've done such a great job of question answering and discovery, right, before you
Hmm.
pitch the price. And
Mm,
so with any objection, not just pricing,
right.
do you believe that this is worth it? Because guess what? By the time you get to the price, if you say, hey, it's $5,000, the right answer for them is, oh my God, I thought it was going to be like $50,000. This is great, because you've created so much value, right? And so
Right.
that comes back to the belief in ourselves, and how much value are we building in the call? How much
Sure.
opportunity cost are we sharing? Like, what would happen if you don't do this in 5 years, right? Building the value in the call is going to put you in a position where the price hardly becomes a factor, right? And so I would
Mm,
look at the rest of your process, and then
mm,
and then if there's still a price objection, then it's just helping them again get on their team, get resourceful. Okay, what can we do? What
right.
kind of, could we do a deposit? Are there other, I mean, with the ROI thing, it's breaking it down for them. It's really just
Sure.
being patient, because if you can just always think, how can I help unpack this with them, instead of taking things at face value. Soul-led
Hmm.
selling is not taking things at face value. When they say, oh, it's a price thing, it's never really the price thing. What's beneath the
Mm,
price thing? What's beneath that price thing? Right? And you keep breaking it down and unpacking it with them. Then you get to the real thing, is that they feel scared that they're not going to make their money back, and then they're going to be broke, and then they're going to land in a freaking trailer home, and then they're going to die.
okay.
So how can we do? That's
That's
always,
deep.
but it's true. Whenever we are in fear, it's because we're afraid of our livelihood and that we're going to end up on the
Right.
street. And so it's,
Yes.
if you can help them unpack that subconscious belief, then they will consciously be able to take action. And so with the
Yes.
price, with any objection, it's unpacking it with them to see what's actually behind the price objection or the spouse objection, which is never really the objection.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Sales is such a like a skill and an art. Like I said when I first got on the call, it's definitely not my strength, and I have definitely learned a lot just talking to you. And I know even myself, I can definitely like improve my approach. I think I'm pretty good with like listening and helping them unpack, but I know I am not good at building the value
Yeah.
and helping them see the value in what they are investing in.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's something that we all need to practice, and that we all need to get good at if we are going to be successful at sales. Or
Women,
and I don't even like to say be successful at sales. It's more like be successful at helping our clients receive the transformation they're looking for.
right. 100%. That's soul-led selling right there, right? It's not even about making the sale. It's actually about them getting that transformation. And I'm just saying this because I feel like I hear this from women. I've never heard this from men, that it's hard for them to have belief and promote the thing that they're selling because they believe so
Hmm.
wholeheartedly in it. Women just have a bigger battle uphill of
Hmm.
learning how to feel worthy enough to talk well about themselves and to say that, hey, I'm the shit and what I offer is awesome, right?
Right.
And it takes practice, and it takes cringy practice of just like, let me just try this on this call. Let me just try and say that what I do will absolutely 100% support them in XYZ way. And let's just
Hmm.
see how it goes. And usually when you do, when you're willing to claim the value that you bring, um, you'll be surprised at the results for sure.
Right. And one of the things that, I don't know what triggered this when you said something, but I work with a lot of clients that are selling like life transformation or business transformation type services that are a little nebulous, I guess, and kind of hard to like wrap your brain around. And I think one of the biggest things that these individuals are up against in sales is that their clients don't believe enough in themselves to actually invest in themselves. Like
Mhm.
they see this like, oh my God, yes, I want to change my life. Yes, I want to lose weight. Yes, I want to change my marriage. Yes, I want to be happy again and feel fulfilled and joyful. But and they don't necessarily identify this, but it underneath is like, but do I really believe I'm capable of doing that?
Yeah.
Any like tips you could share on how do we help these individuals like embrace the belief with our support that
Mhm.
they can actually create the transformation they want in their life?
Yeah. This is where the art comes in to sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was on a trip with my partner a couple maybe a year ago or something,
Mm-hmm.
and I was having some belief stuff of myself come up around
Mm-hmm.
my next venture and what I wanted to do, and I was like, I just don't really believe that I can do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I had all this success, and now I'm like I feel like a failure because I'm on to my next thing, and I'm 27, and da da da. And we had an enrollment conversation, right? It doesn't matter if he's trying to sell me or if he's trying to help me build my
Right.
belief. It's all the same. And what he did was he started to ask very poignant questions. And the
Mm-hmm.
only way he did this was from asking thousands of questions on sales calls. But he started, I was just trying to dissect exactly what he did because it was so transformative for me.
Mm-hmm.
And all he
Okay.
did was continue to ask questions that had me question my belief in why I had questions in my belief at all,
Okay.
which sounds really weird, but he would, and I wish I had the conversation recorded, but it was like, is that true? Is what you're believing true? Okay. And is that
Mm-hmm.
true? And is that
Right.
true? And I'm like, well, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay. Oh, wait. My brain's just taking over again. It's
Right.
all it is. And so when you can ask people if what the story is that they're telling themselves
Mm-hmm.
is true or not true, is it absolutely true? Can you prove that it's true? And you
Mm-hmm.
continue to dive in with, I mean, honestly, that simple round of questioning, eventually they're going to get to the point where they realize it's just an untrue subconscious belief that they've picked up along the way. It's not actually true. It's not fact. It's not law. And if
Right.
it's not fact and it's not law and it's not true, then we can change that belief by rewriting the script, right? And so
Yes.
that's a process you can take people through every time on a sales call to help them build
Mm-hmm.
that belief and to help them see the story they've been telling themselves is false.
Yes.
And again, that's the art. It can take a little bit of practice, but the more you
Yeah.
do it and the more you make a concerted effort to actually help people have that transformation, the better you'll get at it.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of, to me, it's like, it reminds me of how valuable coaching skills are for everybody in this world. Like,
Yes. Yes.
I'm a certified coach, and I've been through that coach training and just learning how to ask those empowering questions and learning how to dig deep and learning how to listen deeply. um, I think everybody can benefit
Yeah.
from coaching, and I think it's coaching skills that can really be transformative in the process of sales.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you just apply all those skills to a sales call,
Right.
increase in sales right away, right? Because it's the
Yes.
same. If you actually take the same energy instead of how can I get this person's win lose? Okay, let me
Right.
just coach this person into transformation. And when I do
Hmm.
that, they're most likely going to invest, right?
Yes.
And that's if you're a coach listening to this, just do that. Apply what you're doing with your clients to the person before they're your client.
Yeah. Absolutely. So this has been awesome. Great conversation. I think we've uncovered a lot of different nuggets, golden nuggets that people can use and at least start to think about. Any other like overarching thing that you would share with listeners about soul-led sales?
One of the things I do, and this is just like another little thing that really helps me whenever I'm starting to get into my head in a sales call. My mentor taught me this. It sounds corny, but it has really helped me. Whenever I start to get in my head, or whenever I feel like I'm like leaning forward or getting anxious or getting like chaotic energy, I rest back and I drop into the back of my heart and I just say, if I don't know what to say or I don't know what to do or I don't know how to react, I just say, please let me be love.
Please
and
let me
whenever
be love.
please let me be love. It sounds corny, I know, but I'm corny.
No, it's awesome.
I do that, and it's like whatever comes out of my mouth next is always the right answer when I do that. And it doesn't have to be me being sparkly, shiny, special at all, but it's like when I let love be my compass, it's always right. And so it might not be the thing or the most strategic thing or the most brainy thing, but it's usually the thing that person needs to hear that I couldn't even come up with myself. And so that's where soul-led selling and leaning into the spiritual wing comes in, because those answers aren't from me. They're from something else. And I'm just the vessel in which to communicate that. And so when I can be love and communicate from there, I'm delivering the message that that person needs to hear that I don't even know they need to hear.
I love that. That is amazing. That is an awesome tip and a perfect way for us to end this conversation. So I'm going to ask you what I ask every guest, because this is on a Mission Mojo podcast, and I want to ask you, what is your personal mojo or that magical superpower that you bring to our world?
I love this question, and I love the name of this podcast. My personal superpower mojo is enthusiasm. I can bring my gift is bringing enthusiasm to people. And I've got a driver energy, so I can get shit done and I can help other people get shit done with enthusiasm and excitement.
I love that. That's awesome. That's the first time actually in all the episodes that I've recorded that I've heard enthusiasm as a superpower, and I love it. It's definitely contagious energy that a lot of people can use.
Yes.
So thank you, Sydney, so much for being here. And I just appreciate all of the insights that you shared with us today.
Thank you so much, Lori.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you for tuning in to the On a Mission Mojo podcast. Ready to dive into more incredible stories of people on a mission? Next week, I'll return with a fresh episode to ignite your passion for creating a better world. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a glowing review, and spread the word to all your friends. Head over to onamissionbrands.com for more great episodes. Remember, the world needs your mojo, so go out there and let your brilliance shine.